How do you pick the right offer? Hey guys, it's Brad from probateresource.com. So today I want to talk about picking the right offer. So I am a real estate investor and a real estate agent, so I know a thing or two about choosing the right offer. If you are selling a property you've inherited, or really selling any property for that matter, you're probably going to get, multiple offers on the property. And how do you know which offer is the right offer to go with? Well, I've done a lot of videos about this, but I wanted to make this video because time and time again, we see this where people are only chasing the number. And while the money is important, and it's absolutely important, you have to look at other factors in the offer too to determine if that money that in fact you're being offered is really even going to come to fruition. And the reason I say that is because there are a lot of investors out there, or even home buyers, just that are buying things to live in them, especially in the nature of this competitive market that we're in. Let's look at it from the lens of, you listed the house with an agent, you're getting multiple offers, and which one do you pick? Well, there are some people and some agents who literally have the strategy to, and this has happened to me before and I've been burned, and this is why I'm saying this. They will offer you over list price just to get an offer accepted. But what you don't know is these same people, because the market is competitive, they're making offers on multiple properties. And it's not until after they're already under contract that they're deciding which house they really want to buy. I know that sounds crazy, but there are people who will put properties, they will make multiple offers, put lots of things under contract, and then they'll say, and then they'll walk through them once more or whatever and say, well, we really like this one. And, within their due diligence period, they cancel and they terminate the contract. What does that mean for you as a seller? Well, that means for you as the seller that they might put your property under contract for 4 or 5 days and then decide they don't want it and they'll terminate. And then you've got to put your house back on the market again. Maybe you have backup offers and you just immediately go under contract. But you'll say, well, Brad, okay, fine. We'll just put it back on the market. No big deal. Well, there is a strange phenomenon in the real estate market, which sometimes we call the kiss of death. And that's when a property goes under contract and then the property falls back out of contract and goes back on the market. Buyers looking at that property may think there's something wrong with that property, when in fact there's nothing wrong with the property. They just got jerked around by a potential buyer who decided that they just wanted to change their mind. I've even had buyers back out like the day before closing before. Craziness, right? Now I got to keep their earnest money deposit, but that's frustrating because then you have to put the house back on the market. You got to go through the whole thing again. You've wasted, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks of your time or whatever it is. And now you're back to square one again. So how do you choose the right offer? Well, if you are dealing with the traditional sense with a real estate agent, you're looking at offers, you want to make sure, first of all, have those people even seen the property? The amount of sight unseen offers that I have gotten on properties, I've listed properties for sale, and an hour later, I get a full price offer from some agent who I know they haven't viewed the property because my lockbox keeps a record of who's toured the property. I know they haven't seen the property yet, but they're making me a full price offer because they're afraid of missing out. So they want to go ahead and lock it up under contract, and then they'll go look at it and decide later. Nope, not wasting my time with that. You need to go see the property before I will accept any offer from you. And that's actually become quite commonplace in the last couple years for that very phenomenon right there, where people will just blast out offers and put things under contract and then go look at them and decide which one they want, right? Another thing I look at is I look at their due diligence period. How long is their due diligence period? I also look at how much they're willing to put up on earnest money. And I also look at their financing contingency. So the due diligence period is the amount of, let's call it the inspection period. It might be, on average, it's 7 to 10 days for most traditional transactions, where that gives them time to inspect the property, figure out if there's things wrong, and then you can ask for repairs to be made. And there's a process called the ATAC, Agreement to Address Concerns. And, you go through that process of, we want you to fix this and we want you to fix that or whatever. And you negotiate back and forth and ultimately decide on a list of repairs. And then you make those repairs. They have to be done before a certain amount of time, right? That's that period. There's also a financing contingency. And what that means is that the buyer has usually an extended period of time beyond the due diligence period where they could still back out of the contract for financing reasons and still get their earnest money deposit back. So pay attention to that financing contingency period. How long is it? I've had someone back out of a contract at the last minute due to a financing contingency, or claim they did it was due to financing. And then I later found out they immediately went under contract on another property. And turns out they just liked that other one better, and they used financing problems as their reason for terminating and got their earnest money deposit back. Is that honest? Probably not, but does it happen? Yes, it happens out there. Okay, so you want to make sure you're paying attention to that. Financing contingency period. How much are they putting down in earnest money? Are they serious? Are they willing to put up non-refundable earnest money? That'll bring out someone's honesty level real quick. If they really like the house, they will put down non-refundable earnest money. If it's refundable and they're not willing to do that, they might be a little wishy-washy about that contract. So make sure you're paying attention to that, talking with your agent about all of those aspects of the contract, and not just chasing the highest price. All right, so let's switch gears here and go over to the investor world, where you're getting offers from investor. Maybe you have a house that needs a little bit of work, you want to sell it as is or whatever. We buy properties at Probate Resource all the time, as is. A lot of times with these probate deals, we buy them with everything in it. Like, we'll buy it with all the junk in it. Let's talk about that for a second. You're going to get the gamut of offers from investors, because unfortunately, in the day and age we live in today, with the world of TikTok and YouTube and Instagram, there's a lot of wannabe investors out there who watched TikTok and think that they're going to be a real estate investor, and someone told them to go out and cold call these numbers and make offers on houses and buy stuff. So you're going to get offers from people who are inexperienced. So what I would suggest you to do is, just like on the other world, you need to pay attention to due diligence period. You need to pay attention to earnest money deposit, and you need to pay attention to the time to closing. Most serious investors who actually close on deals, like myself, I typically do a 2 to 3 week period for closing. If you get an offer from an investor and they're offering you 45, 60 days to closing, you need to question that a little bit. Why aren't they ready to close tomorrow? Like, why are they waiting so long to close? Now, if you request it as the seller, that's one thing, right? But if your investor is requesting a 45, 60-day closing period, that's kind of weird. Also, pay attention to the due diligence period. How long is that due diligence period? We're typically 7 to 10 days, which is pretty standard. But I will do less of a due diligence period on my contract if for some reason the seller feels like that's really important and they want a shorter due diligence. I've done 0 due diligence before on deals. I just have to go through and walk the property myself before, or send one of my people over there that I trust to walk the property for me before we'll actually submit an offer. And I've done offers with no due diligence. That means, like, my earnest money is hard from day one. What does that mean? That means that if I back out, you as a seller get to keep my earnest money deposit. That means I'm serious about it, right? So pay attention to that. If you've got an offer from an investor and they've got a 2-week, 3-week, 4-week due diligence period in their contract, you need to run away from that offer. They're probably a wholesaler. And mind you, there's nothing wrong with wholesaling. Wholesaling's legal. We wholesale properties. I have wholesaled properties, but there's a way that certain investors do it where their only strategy is wholesaling. They wholesale everything, and they basically put as much stuff under contract as possible, and then they see what sticks, and then they typically renegotiate later. That's their strategy. Let me put 10 properties under contract this week, and we'll end up buying 5 of them or 3 of them, and then we'll cancel the contracts on the rest of them. There are investors, even experienced big-time outfits out there, who that is their strategy. It's all a numbers game to them. Put as many properties under contract as possible, make as many offers as possible, and then do your due diligence, and then analyze whether that deal even makes sense or not. Cancel it if it doesn't. Keep the ones that do. Okay, that works for them, but what about you as the seller? What does that mean for you? Well, that means you might waste 2 weeks of your time dealing with this due diligence period, and then at the 11th hour, they decide to cancel the contract because they decide the deal wouldn't work for them. Or they're trying to wholesale that property and they can't find a buyer for it, and then they decide to terminate because they can't find a buyer. They're going to throw whatever against the wall and see what sticks. So make sure you're paying attention to due diligence period in the contracts. Make sure you're paying attention to the time to close, and make sure you're paying attention to the earnest money deposit. Are they putting down $100 in earnest money or $500 in earnest money? Typically speaking, and there's no set rule for this, but traditionally, 1% is a reasonable earnest money deposit, 1% of the purchase price. So if it's a $100,000 purchase, $1,000 earnest money, that's pretty typical, right? So make sure you're paying attention to that. Also, some people, may not have any earnest money deposit in their contract at all. Depending on the state you're living in, some states earnest money is required, other states it's not required. You probably want to Google your state laws to figure out whether you even need earnest money. But I've seen some investors don't put any earnest money down at all on any of their contracts. It's nowhere to be found in their contract. So make sure you read through their contract. Also pay attention for weasel clauses, as I call them, like out clauses where subject to partner approval. Well, you don't even know where their partner is. Their partner could be their dog for all you know, right? Or subject to lender approval, or look for those ways where they can find a way out and still get all their earnest money back. That goes to show that they're not actually serious about buying your property and they're just jerking you around. Also, let's talk about price. Let's talk about numbers. You want a certain number out of the property, right? Let's say you get offers from 4 investors, right? And 3 of your investors are like right here. And then there's like a few that are way, way up here, like way out of the question. Or there's a few that are like way, 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 way low ball. Pick one of the ones that are like really tight together. If you've got 3 offers that are really close to one another, those are probably your 3 serious investors. They know their numbers well because the numbers are the numbers. What the house will sell for in most cases, in most neighborhoods, is not going to vary all that much. There's not some investor who has this secret weapon where he can sell a house for $100,000 more than everybody else can. It's just not the case. The comps dictate the value, and all we do as investors is a formula for us. Okay, what is the house worth? What do I need to put in it? What would I like to make in a profit? And what does it cost me to hold and close and sell the property? That's what I offer you. There's no secret to it. It's literally that. And sometimes we'll get sellers that'll come to us and say, hey, all the houses in the neighborhood are selling for $250,000 in good shape. We'd like to get an offer from an investor for $240,000. And I'd say, well, you can't even list the house for $250,000 and pay your real estate commissions and net $240,000. How am I supposed to make any money? I have to make money in this transaction. I'm not a charity. I don't do this for free. So I've got to make money. You're going to make money. That's the point of this, is that everybody sort of wins in the scenario. It's a win-win scenario, right? So make sure you're paying attention to that and where those offers are coming in at, and make sure that you're picking the offers based off of how close they are to one another, and then also paying attention to the company you're dealing with. Do your research on the company. Make sure you're working with a reputable company. Go search the deed records. Figure out if they're actually closing on transactions. Look them up in the Secretary of State website. Make sure they're a legitimate LLC. Make sure they have a website. It's so easy to get a website nowadays. So easy. If they don't even have a website for you to vet them out, you should probably run away from them. It's so simple to create a website. And if they give you some runaround answer why they don't have a website, move on to the next one. Pick the person who you are comfortable with and you feel like is going to be able to close on this transaction. So I hope that helps you out today in picking the right offer. Again, I'm Brad with probateresource.com. So we specialize in the world of probate and inheritance properties. We buy properties for cash all over the U.S. And we also have a fantastic network of real estate agents that are probate and inheritance specialists all over the U.S. that we work with. So if you want to go the traditional route and list your house with an agent, maybe you don't think the cash offer is the best route for you, we'd be happy to refer you to one of our hand-picked agents. So if you're interested in working with our company, you do have a property you need to sell, go to probateresource.com, fill out the form there on the site, and a member of our team will be in touch with you ASAP. So thanks again for checking out this video. I'm Brad with probateresource.com. Have a great day. Bye-bye.